Hello, you guys. Welcome back into the ranting shop with me, Melissa. I know it's been a long time, but we're back in here again to discuss Ready to Love. The first episode finally dropped, and we're gonna talk about it. Okay, so essentially, there wasn't too much hype over the Miami season. Now, what I mean by not too much hype is, before they normally have the whole casting special and you get to know about the couples one by one and hear a little bit about their maybe life dynamic, working dynamic, and stuff like that, and you kind of get settled in with them, so to speak, before you see the actual show. But I think for this particular season, there was really none of that. So we got to get to know them while we were watching the show. So I Samson comes in first. He mentions liking curves. All men like curves. April comes in second, and April reminds me of AP. Then we have Tranika. Tranika got the boobs, she has the hips, she has the figure that Samson claims to like. But she also has a broken wrist. And we have what Sharice. And later on in the episode, you actually see Sharice turn into somewhat of a biatch. Just the way she speaks to people or speaks about people, and she carries herself like almost like she's somewhat better than others. And I think we all know the older woman that kind of talks badly about people behind their back. She just gives me that vibe, and it makes her seem and look ugly, to be honest with you, because we saw how she spoke about Dominica, basically making it seem like, or trying to make assumptions that she might possibly be a stripper or something like that. And I just don't like the vibe. Okay, I don't like it. I'm just gonna fast forward. It's gonna be this whole jumbled thing. It's not gonna be a linear play by play. What we saw was that the men had to choose which woman was gonna be sent home, and the men were not feeling Charisse. Neither were they feeling Dominica or Dominique. I'm not sure what her name is or how it's pronounced. But the reason why I feel like they don't like Charisse, well, they made it very clear that it was because she's very mean. Some men like it, some men don't. Most men did not like it, because in addition to coming across mean, she also came across very hard to approach. I guess some men felt like she was a little bit, I don't know if it was they were intimidated or if they just did not feel a warm invite to go up to her and start a conversation with her. Who knows? But she was placed in the bottom. And of course, she would be surprised because she thinks she's the ish. Everybody should feel like they're the ish. But people that talk down on other people, I feel like they have more issues with being humble than other people. And then Dominica, yes, Dominica is loud. She's a little bit, she's a lot of energy, and that might turn off some women. It clearly turned off Charisse. But it's so interesting to see that both Charisse and Dominica ended up in the bottom, you know. One thinking that they were more worthy than I guess the other one was. Anyways, we have Calvin, sorry. I said that he looks masculine until he speaks, or he appears masculine until he opens his mouth, and then you sense a little bit of either that he's a metrosexual, or he is maybe bi, or maybe even just into just other things. He just comes across a little bit flamboyant, and that immediately turned me off. Like the moment he spoke, I was like, meh. So then we have Brandy. I thought she was the youngest, but she's not. The flight attendant. She spoke about wanting to move out or being able to move for a man. I'm like, okay. Alonzo, he's retired, has a 21-year-old daughter, and we figured that Alonzo was, feeling, people. He was like having a conversation with, I believe was it Brandy? Yes, Alonzo spoke with Brandy, and they, I suppose, really connected in regards to him having the availability and time, and she having the flexibility, so that way they could get to know each other and be with each other, I guess, if it comes to that situation. We have Mike. We learn a little bit about Mike. Mike was in a long-term relationship. He has 3 children. He's not the most talkative person, but from what I saw, he seemed attractive until he did the interview. Then I'm like, he's not that attractive. But he seems cool, a little dangerous to me. Guys that are so quiet, they scare me, because what are you hiding? But then we have Dominica. She likes Mike. Then we have Sean. Immediately after seeing the interaction with Sean and the other women, as well as Sean by himself, he appears to be a little bit sugary to me. Spoiler alert, he was sent home because no woman really had much of a connection with him. Now we know that the show sometimes go in different directions. I believe sometimes the contestants might feel like the power is in their hands when really the power is in the production's hands. So even though you pick a particular person to be sent home because that person has, I guess, TV qualities or reality show qualities, they might keep that person in. Like, because Sean had to go up against Swayze, and a lot of women felt like Swayze was a little mean, a little pompous, a bit arrogant. They didn't really like him that much. But I think one woman was interested in him, maybe a couple do. And I knew that they would keep Swayze because he just has that a-hole thing that I think a lot of reality shows thrive on with men. They think it brings drama. They think it brings ratings. So I'm not surprised that Swayze is still there. Then we have Jamala. Jamala wants an organic attraction, and she didn't find it with the conversation she had with Sean because she's not a fan of the goofy type of humor that Sean possessed. Kayla likes the player type, which we all have been there. It's not a good look. It's not something that is ever gonna end very well for anybody. Then we have, she's also feeling Swayze. We have LJ. LJ is from the Virgin Islands, Caribbean massive. So I'm happy to see a little bit of representation from the Caribbean. Based on what I'm seeing in the previews, I feel like he's gonna let us down. I hope he does not. Okay, so we learned that he has a 6-year-old and that the relationship broke off because the partner cheated on him, and he's been single for 3 years. Now we know that when women cheat on men, it's often because they're not getting something from that man, whether it be emotionally, whether it be physically, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that what the partner did was necessarily justifiable. I'm just expanding the conversation to, broaden it a bit. to basically state that sometimes people just don't cheat, they cheat for reasons primarily stemming from a lack of something within their relationship on both sides. So we see that Shakia likes LJ. She's from Brooklyn. She also has a child that's 7 years old, a boy. So far, I feel like they have a lot in common, and I feel like they do have a big potential to form something strong and legit. But I just don't know if that's gonna happen, because a lot of the times you'll find that, and then during the table session, the contestants were speaking. I don't know who said it, but somebody mentioned the fact that the men, what they say and what they do don't align, and that is the problem that I have with Ready to Love. Is these men come in and they're kind of edited to seem like they're good, too good to be true. Like, why are they single? They're perfect. And then as you continue to watch the show, you realize exactly why they're single, and I'm getting that from, I'm happy that somebody actually verbalized it. So we have Justice. He's popular with the women. There's a lot of light-skinned men this season. A lot of the women like Justice. He's charming. I guess a lot of people just gravitate towards him. He referred to himself as Honey. He grew up around women. His father was absent, so he learned, I suppose, to be a man through women. I don't know how that works, but something about him is drawing women to him, so we shall see. Shakia is not liking Swayze's humor. Devin has a son out of wedlock, and he hasn't really made an effort to be in his child's life. And I think it's because he's ashamed of how the relationship was formed, because he mentioned, oh, it was a one-night stand and whatever the case is. So I feel like there's some men that are very arrogant and narcissistic, and what they tend to do is they tend to see themselves in a particular way, and the way they see their lives working is like in a more, oh, I'll have children with the woman I want in a marriage and so on and so forth, and they end up doing some reckless thing like having a one night stand and having a child with somebody they never wanted to have a child with or never envisioned having a child with. And what they tend to do, a lot of them tend to run away from that responsibility, because basically their actions created a life that they never wanted. It's unfair to the child. It's unfair to the woman, because in actuality, two people decide to have sex. You guys knew what could happen as a result. So I'm a little bit disappointed in him, very turned off by him. But we shall see. Cherie seems to have been more empathetic towards him, but that might just be physical, who knows, because I don't know which woman would hear that a man is saying, first, I don't have a child, and then in the next breath, I do have a child, but I don't really spend much time. I don't know which woman would just willingly open their arms towards a man that like that. I just don't get it. Anyways, Looney likes Samson. Samson also likes her. I noticed that, typically so used to see people with edges, and she really didn't have that swoopty edge thing that we black people love to do. So that was a little bit refreshing and a little bit odd anyways. So we also learned that Samson has a Persian dad, I think, and a black mom, and his dad passed away. And he said he was looking for a woman like his mom that had to work extra hard to take care of him, as well as to take care of herself, considering there was no father in the picture. Now, side note, why do men want women to struggle like their mom did? That to me is so weird and a little bit toxic and so unfair. Like, and it also brings into the conversation the fact that mothers especially the single mothers, they have to kind of draw a line between appearing to be superwomen in their children's eyes versus letting their children know how difficult it is having to raise them and be a mom and have a job. Because if you give your child this unrealistic feeling that you were a superwoman, you did it all, you did not complain, you were able to spend time with him, go to all his games, and have a job, and take care of the house, and do this and do that. A lot of men feel like everybody can do it, and they oftentimes expect it from their female partners. But I feel like it's very toxic because even the mom knows that she wasn't a superwoman. She struggled sometimes. She broke down. She had bad days, but she just didn't allow her child to see that. So all the child sees is mom does it all. Mom is so strong. But there's a danger in that because it's unrealistic. And you wanting your woman to bear all that burden because your mom did it is super toxic, and it's also naive. So let's go into Jamala and Wendell. They seem to have a very Jamala is the same woman that didn't like Sean. She seems to really like Wendell. Then we see Dominica coming to steal, Randall away. I don't think Randall is into Dominica, even though he mentions that he has been with louder women. He tends to go for women that are opposite to him. Randall strikes me as a type of guy that lets women fight his battles, meaning like he'll just be silent and just allow the woman to defend him. And I just find that very unattractive. So we have Charisse with the jabs that I mentioned before, talking about, oh, Dominica, is that her real name or is that her stage name? And Kayla was like, I'm gonna tell Dominica everything that Charisse just said, because not you just meeting us in the first episode and talking bad about us. That's crazy. And I said, if she doesn't go, Charisse actually said, if she doesn't go, I'd be surprised. Well, it turns out that for some reason, Tommy decided to keep both women. And by both women, I mean Charisse and Dominica. To be honest with you, I don't see Dominica as doing anything wrong per se. I just feel like some women, they don't like when other women are just having fun and enjoying themselves, I suppose. Who knows? And even the men say that Charisse is mean, but they're getting a second chance. I said that before. Is Shakia being played? Now the reason why I asked that is because in the previews we're gonna see she say to LJ that she did things with him that she's never done with anyone. And the way it sounded, it's as if he ghosted her, but who knows. Charisse is called out for being fake, and I think it was by Alonzo, or was it Samson? I have no clue. I cannot really tell them apart. But things are gonna get really heated. I have a feeling that Charisse is gonna be the villain. Nobody's gonna like her. And it's gonna be juicy. And I forgot to mention that Calvin ended up going home because of some family emergency that he had to tend to. So in actuality, 2 men got sent home. So it kind of makes sense because 2 men were sent home, there doesn't need to be a third person sent home, because technically only 2 people should be sent home per episode. But it's a little bit uneven, so I'm thinking that later on 2 women are gonna be sent home at some point. Who knows? Let me know what you guys think about the first episode of Ready to Love. Who are your favorites and who are you not really feeling? I don't particularly like Swayze, and I also don't think I like Charisse, because I don't like people that are just rude and mean for no reason. It's just unattractive. But let's see what happens in the future episodes. Like, subscribe, and see you guys next time for another review from me, Melissa, in the Ranting Shop. Bye-bye. Like and subscribe.